Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Power Spike. First stand has concluded. Hanwha Life Esports are your champions of the first ever first stand and the first international event here in 2025. dGon alongside Jamada and Dom to break it all down. It went the way that we expected. Karmine Corp, they did win a game number one in the finals and did make it to the finals over CFO, which was heavily favored going into it. Also, news across the LoL esports sphere as we look towards the future patch season, what realm we're going into. Riot has put out some teasers and some news from T1 about their LCK roster. And that's where we're going to start, guys. The question has been in the LCK for a majority of this LoL esports fan base, or I guess like 20 to 30% of the fans are T1 fans in LoL esports. They've been wondering who their starting AD carry is going to be. Joe Marsh puts out a statement saying that he's using his CEO powers to start Gumayusi, who does bleed red and black of T1, but there will be a competition between him and Smash. So, guys, what do you make of this move? Is it the right decision? What do you make of the way that they did it? There's a lot of angles that we can go from. Dom, how about you?
I mean, I just don't understand why it's important for him to tell the community that he's the one that did it, unless he wanted to appear as the savior of the team, where he's showing, hey, look at how good I am for the team. I'm listening to you guys. Is that it? Or does he want to make the coaches look bad? It just seems very weird to undermine the coaches like that. And also to make the distinction, even from Gumayushi's standpoint, to make the distinction where it's the coaches don't want you to play, but I'm the CEO and I want you to play, so you're going to have to, the CEO is not going to be there every single day in the practice room with them. It must be so fucking awkward for Guma to walk in and be like, oh, I'm unwanted here, but I guess, my CEO wants me here and I have a lot of fans, so I'm on the team, guys. It's just got to be a really fucking weird situation. So I don't understand why they felt the need to credit Joe Marsh with it. I feel like they could have just started Gumayusi if that's what they wanted to do. And I don't think there's any benefit that comes from announcing that the CEO is the one who wants it done. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's just par for the course. They're bending the knee to their mentally ill fan base. The deranged fans have won. They have bullied the CEO into starting a player against the will of the coaches. Congratulations, guys. You guys are doing the best. Now, let me tell you what the worst situation possible is.
Oh, here it goes. What's the worst situation possible?
Is that Gumayusi ends up playing well, and then the fans think that what they did is correct.
Think they won.
And then they just think they've won, and then they start impressing. They're then they're going to be the ones leading the team, doing all the roster changes. They'll be like, guys, we got to save this team. That is actually how the people that are under these tweets think. They think that they know more about the team than the coaches. They think that they're smarter than the coaches, or they have a better idea of what's going to make the team successful than the coaches. And that's why they are demanding that not only I don't know if you guys saw the post, but it's not even people were that happy that Guma was coming back. They're yeah, so we need to know who's responsible in this coaching staff for wanting to play Smash over Guma. That's what we need to know. They're so fucking bloodthirsty, that community. So yeah, I mean, it's super fucking weird. The way it went down was weird. I don't really understand it at all, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's how things have went. So yeah, Gumayusi starting against the will of the coaches.
Yeah,
how to get in there.
I think the biggest thing that's strange to me about this announcement is, and maybe I just had the wrong read anyway, but it felt like this was always going to be the plan after Smash came in and played well, right? It felt almost it would have felt ridiculous if they sent him back to the challengers after his opening split in the cup. So I think not only is the handling really weird, and the comms around the entire thing has just been a nightmare. I think they've really created this situation. I mean, forget the long-term compounded issues, right? Of people talking about the K-popification and all that stuff. I'm not here to have that particular discourse, but that's what's going on. Just have clear comms. And this is not only is it just a massive undermining of the coaching staff, everyone's kind of come to the conclusion of, it's just really fucking weird, because realistically this should have always been the plan. Once you bring up Smash, and Smash played like a freak, Smash was really, really good, and he made T1 look like a functioning team again, right, domestically for the time that he was there. In my head, this was a clear decision that should have always been the like end point from what happened in the first split. So the handling, the
I think the clear decision is to just
really
start Smash.
I mean, to be honest with you, Dom, I agree. I actually agree. I think you should just be playing Smash right now. It just seems like the better option between Guma and Smash. Sucks to be Guma, but that's competition. Like, we had this discussion a few months ago. He came up and took Teddy's spot, right? It's the exact same thing, realistically. So, everything's really, really, really strange. I think just the biggest part is so much of this feels like it could have been fixed through comms. Yes, that the fans probably would have still been a bit, well, themselves. But yeah, I think overriding the coaching staff, and now it just feels like if you're in that room, right, like you're saying, if you're Guma, but like if you're the coaching staff, you're just like, do you even feel like your decisions are going to matter long term if they continue? If this is a starting point of, you know, this kind of pressure maybe actually working from the outside towards the in.
So, normally I do this role for Riot, not because, I love Riot or anything. It's just because there are a lot of successful, smart people that work at Riot. And in this case, Joe's kind of been there through, this takeover. What's the positive? What if he's gigabraining? What if the coaching staff actually wanted Guma and Joe is doing the soldier, protecting the person in bed and taking the arrows and saying,
made them look what
hey,
he's
look,
just thrown them under the bus in that case. Then he's a fucking moron. Like, I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. Like, I'm just saying, like, he is just a fucking moron, but that would be a fucking moron thing to do, right? Like, if the coaching staff wanted to start Guma, wouldn't it be better for them to take the accountability for it instead of it to be like, yeah, by the way, the coaches don't even like Guma. Like, what the fuck? Like the rabid fan base wants Guma so badly. So why would you want them to think that the coaches are the ones that are against Guma in the case where they're actually for Guma? Like, that would be the most fucked up thing.
Because they don't care about the fans. And if it goes poorly, it goes worse than if it goes positively because they're winning. Like, you have multiple things you need to balance. You need to balance the actual decision. You need to balance the fan perceptions, the fans that like fought against the Guma crazies, and also protect the Guma crazies, because you have to get them all to still buy into the team. And Joe has social capital that he's more than willing to throw out there because he's not the one making the decisions. He could go backstage, behind stage, and be like, coaches, I trust you, I got you. What do you want to do? Okay. Publicly, to make sure that all the fans, if this goes poorly, all the fans will direct it at me and not you, so that you can continue to do your job and people don't send you those things. The messages and that stuff will come at me so that you can keep doing that. Because I trust you, right? Because it feels damned if you do, damned if you don't, if you're the coaches. But now by inserting Joe in the conversation, you then have someone else, a different target to take the arrows. I mean, this is a little, to be honest, stretch, but
if that was the intent, I think he's done a horrible job at it, right? Like, again, there's that one paragraph where it's effectively like, I have full faith in the coaches.
I mean, I can read the paragraph.
Yeah,
I mean, the paragraph is like the most fucked up thing of all time. So this is the paragraph.
Should we just read the statement? Should we just read the statement?
We can just read the paragraph that actually matters, right? So this is the paragraph that matters. I have complete trust in Becker, Coma, and the coaching staff. And after extensive conversations with them, I have requested that Gumayusi be part of the starting lineup. And as a result, he will be starting when the regular season begins. This decision was not made lightly, but as CEO, it is my responsibility to take a long-term view and ensure the best interests of T1. That's the paragraph.
Mind you, he's the CEO. So what the fuck are you supposed to say when the CEO comes and says, "Hey man, you guys need to play this player"? Like, you can't argue that kind of stuff.
Also, Jamada and Andrew, our producer, you can chime in on this. Doesn't it sound worse when Dom reads this sentence? I'm just like, you can.
What do you mean? I read it word for word.
Word for word, to be fair.
I know. You did read it word for word, but I could just hear the flame building as you were going word for word. It was just really good.
Because it doesn't make sense. Like, that is the thing, is it doesn't make sense. It's like, by the way, I completely trust them. Well, if you completely trust somebody, then you wouldn't do the opposite of what they're advising you, right? Like, if I completely trust you as a host, I wouldn't then be like, yeah, I completely trust you as a host, dGon. But by the way, I think your whole run of show is dog shit. I think your topic list is terrible, and I'm going to go and tell you to do things differently. Like, if I completely trusted you, I would just put my faith that you would be able to do something better than me. That's what complete trust is. So number one, like complete trust, that is like maybe he's
probably the wrong word.
But yeah, complete trust, that is not what complete trust is. If you have complete trust, then you would value their decisions in their expertise, their field over your own decisions, right? That's number one. Number two, when he says, this decision was not made lightly, but it is my responsibility to take a long-term view and ensure the best interests of T1. That's like a very like weird statement, right? Because, okay, when he's saying that, what is he talking about? What aspect of T1? Is he talking about the team winning? Is he talking about the health of the brand? Is he talking about taking care of the fan base? Like, what does it mean to ensure the best interest of T1? So it's not just winning, right? That's what that would mean. Like, it's not only winning, because that's the insinuation there. Is that oh yeah, what's the best interest for T1? The best interest for T1 is having all their fans still care about the team. Guma brings all the fans, so you should keep him on the team so that you're able to, like, you know, sell more merch and just have your whole company run. But like, to me, that's weird, because I feel like almost no other team in the world does this. Like, every other team is like, yeah, we just want to fucking win. Like, we just want to win over everything else. Like, I don't know any other players around the world that are on teams like at the request of the CEO, like publicly. I don't think I've ever heard this before.
Okay, so I've got a quote here. I've got a quote here, and then a drill that we can do after that. Last season, under a lot of fire, this player was, and a tweet goes out, and maybe this was a decision that was made beforehand, which was what makes the T1 thing weird, but love me some fudge, right? And if we just swap out Joe being this person to Jack and Cloud9, Steve and Team Liquid, Reggie and TSM back in the day, like, I feel like this kind of thing could have totally happened. It 100% could have happened. And where I agree with you, where it says I have complete trust in them moving forward is probably the play, or everything that they've done before. But in this specific problem where maybe they don't feel conviction one way or the other, Joe steps in, makes that decision because it was, you know, kind of like wishy-washy, and then he gets to cover himself by saying, as CEO, long-term view. That's kind of the way that I take it. I have complete trust in them moving forward because we have this issue that came up. We have a great talent behind us. We had our stud, our star, our brand struggle in week one of the season, and we did a thing where, you know, in a format that was made for trying things out, and it turned out to be okay.
I think, I mean, in general, right, you'd want to present a united front if you ever have the ability to. What would 100%. Be the point? Yeah. What would be the point of if it was like, oh, they're kind of in the middle, and then like Joe Marsh was like, well, I mean, if you're in the middle, let's just play with Guma. Why would they create this divide publicly between like how their information is coming out, or potentially, you know, throwing the coaches in a different side of things if you could avoid it? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, the way that this reads to me is that the coaches wanted to play with Smash, and Joe Marsh wanted to play with Guma, and they were going they were at odds pretty much probably the entire split, because I mean, Joe Marsh's tweets, every time he said anything, everyone was just bombarding him. He was getting a ton of hate about like, yo, start Guma, like, is this how you because he's the one that made comments where, oh, T1 is family, right? So then people would be like, oh, you think it's family? Is this how you treat fucking family after everything Guma did for you, you motherfucker, you corporate CEO, you piece of shit? Like, they were going off on him nonstop. Yep. And then he was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, we're just playing with Guma. Like, that's how it comes off. The way it comes off to me is the coaches wanted Smash, Joe Marsh wanted Guma, and then he played the CEO card, and then they got GG'd on the spot. It was, hey, I'm CEO, so do what I say, bitch. That's what it sounds like to me.
It feels hard to see it many other ways as well, unfortunately, just because of the timeline, I suppose, of events. So, I mean, for me now, the big thing that I can not worry about, but I think there's just so much additional unneeded pressure on T1. Whoever's like on the River Smash, even hell, maybe even technically Guma, right? Like, to perform, like definitely Guma, to perform, right, when it comes to this next split. Because otherwise, like, what was all the hubbub about? Imagine Guma comes back in now and they just look like complete shit again, right? They just can't function for whatever the reason is. Doesn't matter. Like, it could literally not even be related to Guma, and I think it still just makes the divide bigger. And that's the problem that I have with like the statement and how it's been handled. Is it was by design to, you know, unite the fan base, but all it's really done is just make the fervent fans more angry, and then anyone with like more than 101 IQ go, well, this is just fucking weird, isn't it? Like, this has been handled like
so none of
possibly
the
the worst
T1
way
fans.
possible. So hey, there's a reason I said it how I said it.
Wait, actually, like, to that point, I think it goes back to like what I'm thinking of. Like, T1 had resigned to the fact that they were going to piss fans off no matter what, which is why you insert Joe back into the conversation and be like, all right, he'll take the heat for it. No matter what, if the fans get mad at the coaches, doesn't matter. Joe's got their back, blah, blah. And I think it could be as simple as, hey, Joe, we think we want to start Guma here, or Smash here, but obviously T1 is this brand and this whole thing. What do you think? Like, I can see that. I can see, like, if winning solves a lot of things, but brand is also part of the equation, and fan retention is also part of the equation. I think it's the difference between just it simply being let's win, or how do we massage this and make sure that we can move on maybe next year and we sell Guma or we sell Smash or whatever it is. Like, I think just having that talent pop up during LCK Cup, that was the mistake.
I can't buy it. Realistically, to me, the easiest way Hunters just go, yeah, we're running a 6-man roster, like a functional 6-man. Like, it's almost as if they've just completely they've tried to tackle it too head on.
Yeah, but you can't do that because no one fucking cared about Rest and Driver. No one fucking cared. No one knows who the fuck they were until before this tournament.
But for sure, but
you have to deal your superstar.
I think
you have to deal with your superstar, bona fide stud very differently. You get different rules.
I you know what? Maybe I'm just too traditional. I don't fucking think so at all. I think if you look like you're not functioning well for the team, it's time to go. Dom's experiencing that right now already, right?
Yep.
With
hell yeah.
With the players on his team.
Legendary players. If you're a legendary player and you show up and you're a washed bum, like, you get fucking replaced. That's how that shit works, you know?
And to me,
it's doing the things that Joe Marsh is not willing to out here. You know? That's the reality of the situation, is that Joe Marsh wishes he could run a team like the fucking Ruddy Sack, and he never will be able to.
So it's not even about like getting rid of Guma or like trying to handle it like in a way that's particularly gracious. It's just think about the competition, assess what happened in the first split, and go, look, we took Guma out, we gave Smash time, Smash looks good for us, we're running a functional 6-man roster. Done. What are we talking about everything else for? Realistically, we don't need to address everything else. Addressing everything else just makes it worse. And the fact that he's injected himself directly into the ongoing of the team now, I think is just going to make any kind of discourse significant. It's gonna be 11 out of 10 every single time, especially when it comes from the T1 fans, who are specifically the Guma fans. I think you're just asking for annoying ass arguments from the actual community, and again, you've effectively kind of let them win, right? In this sense, by the way that this statement has been handled. So yeah, I think the whole thing is a big fat farce, and they could have just handled it a million and one ways better.
Joe Marsh loves taking credit for stuff like this. It feels like everyone's like, hey, this is a kind of weird idea, Joe. And he's like, no. They must know that I saved T1. They need to know that I am the messiah of T1, because he did the same thing with the fucking 10-man roster when they like settled on a 5-man roster and that roster started to be successful. He went on a podcast and he's like, yeah, one day I just walked into the practice room. I wrote 5 names on a piece of paper and I gave it to the coach and I said, that's your starting roster. That's literally what he said, like verbatim. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say. I paraphrased extremely accurately. Like that's it was maybe a couple fucking words off. All right, like he just said this shit on a fucking podcast, and it was like, so the coaches are, what the fuck are the coaches doing? Like, what does it mean to be a coach at T1? Like, you just don't get choice over play, or like I don't know. It just seems so fucking weird. It's like they have Coma, who is one of like the GOAT coaches of this game. And they're like, yeah, you know, I just made the request. Seems fucking why do you have Coma on your team? Like, why not just get like a yes man at that point, as opposed to like getting somebody who's actually going to do things that, look, Coma has made tough decisions to elevate the team before, right? Like, he's the one that's been in the fucking shit with T1 for ages. I know he went to another team for a bit, but
plus.
to Dom on for a bit. Yeah. But the thing about that is like, I just don't understand why have a coach of that caliber if you don't trust them with these types of decisions. And like, I mean, think about the legendary T1 roster. Think about the legendary like season 5, season 6 T1 roster. They're subbing in like Faker and Easy Hoon. They had like Tom come in. They had a bunch of like jungle issues. Blank was in there. Like they were able to get to the finish line at the end. And Koma's proved that he could actually run a functional roster with subs before. So I don't know. It just seems weird to also make it seem like Guma is just going to play all the games. Like that is how it seems from reading it.
Yeah.
Where it's like Guma is the starter, he's going to play, and it's like they're going to be competing in scrims for like the spot. But it's like until Smash wins the spot, he's not going to be like sharing. Like they kind of took away the idea of the 6-man roster with this type of statement, because it's like you'll see Smash if he wins, but there's not going to be like, oh, Guma plays this week, Smash plays the next week. Let's look at both of their performances. Who did better? Okay, now we're going to run Smash in the week after that. Like, they're not going to be doing this shit over at T1. So, hey, I'm down for T1 downfall, and I think they're making a bad decision.
You're always
Smash,
down, mate.
Yeah, I'm always down for fucking T1 downfall. Like, I'm super down. Like, for me, when I woke up, I was like, smile. I was like, oh, nice. They're ruining the team. They're ruining the team because of the moron fans. Excellent. Like, I was fucking, I'm getting greedy right now. But like, when I saw this shit, I don't know how to like interpret it besides for the fact that Guma is just being like forced in there. He is the starter. You know, he's going to play all the fucking games, and behind closed doors, maybe Smash gets some scrims, but it doesn't even really matter unless they actually decide like this thing is a catastrophe. Unless the T1 roster like mega fails, in which case they're like, all right, it's fucking broken. Smash emergency glass. No fucking pun intended. And Smash comes in, and then he ends up being like the starter, and then at the end of the year, Guma goes to a different team.
Yeah, this definitely doesn't feel like the very popular interview that Chowie gave during First Stand, where he said, I know what it's like to have a career ruined, and so I'm very careful with the players on who I start and who goes in and what I expect from them. And basically throughout the tournament, they just took turns. I think at the very end of Game 5 against KC, was it Driver played twice? I think Driver played back-to-back, and he was the one that played in the Game 5. Other than that, it was straight down the line. Game 1 rest, Game 2 Driver, and it was cool to have that be a priority. Whereas in this case, that's why I was kind of just thinking about like the other side. That's why I'm thinking like you have Koma, 6-time Worlds finalist, 4-time winner. You have all this experience there. Why else would you do that if there was a Giga Brain move? But you know, time will tell. Time will tell. All right,
Downfall
kicking
imminent.
this one off with T1.
Downfall. That's all I'm saying.
If you've got some goals about fitness and you don't want a downfall to happen, we've got you covered with our friends over at Factor. You ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that are making eating very easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat in 2 minutes, so you can feel right, feel great no matter what life throws at you, even a 6-man roster. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active and busy lifestyle, and you can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto meals based on a randomized, controlled clinical trial with Factor Keto. Results may vary depending on diet and exercise, and with 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or the aforementioned Keto. Factor can help you feel great and feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. And it's made Dom's life a lot easier when he's been busy grinding out those co-streams, which are about to start yet again just next week as the LPL kicks on off. So eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use the code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code factorpodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Thanks to our friends over at Factor, making staying on top of your nutritional goals fast and easy. All right. Well, as we've kind of looked forward, we got to recap the event that just happened. Yes, first stand is done, but we had 2 semifinals, 1 grand finals. One of those one of those series didn't go the way that maybe all of us thought. And that game 5 between KC and CFO was some of the most. That was some fun fucking League of Legends, and I just remember thinking as like not having dog in the fight. Yes, maybe I wanted to see Casey lose a little bit, but like that was fun. That was some, and it wasn't like pussy game 5s that we see all the time where like teams just ball up and don't do anything. Those dudes were fighting, they were scrapping. It was down on one side, down on the Elder. I think it was Elder that it was popping up. It was just a great, exciting game of League of Legends that eventually KC and EU won, sending them to the first finals in an international event since 2019. So let's send it to our EU rep here. What did you make of that series, and specifically that game number 5?
I mean, I'll start with the game 5 because it's the one I ended up catching directly live. I was very, very excited to see Kalist and Targamas go back to their ERL roots. I'm gonna just give a call out to it because they used to run Sinner and Nyla years ago in the ERL. It was like their fallback pick. So to basically, first international, big bollocks it like this. Even though I think for a large portion of the game, to be fair, Kalista and Targamas were kind of muted. Not their fault, just how the game went. Really, really great stuff. And I think the fact that much like, and we'll get onto like kind of complimenting CFO as well, I think throughout this tournament, because I think for a majority of us who watch this tournament, pleasantly surprised by CFO's performance throughout. KC, and I think specifically Vladdy, even though there was a lot of in there, just playing straight, balls to the walls, aggressive League of Legends. If he felt like he could squeeze for damage and get a 1-for-1, he was doing it. And he was doing it on which obviously like Corky in the game 5 specifically. Yeah, just a fantastic back and forth League of Legends game. The CFO, I kind of feel bad for them because it would have been cool to actually see them go all the way just to get 3-0'd by HLE, regardless. Just because the story would have been fun, right? And I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like CFO were maybe the most fun team to watch at the tournament because to me, almost every HLE game was kind of a bit of a given based on a lot of how they approach a lot of these games and how teams, I feel like, especially KC into HLE, which we'll talk about later, just playing into HLE's hands too many times instead of trying to play their own game, specifically KC. So yeah, CFO upsetting the apple cart almost would have been awesome, but KC, Europe, Vive la France, all the European stuff. I'll do like a pseudo bro, a dGon bro cosplay here for a second. Was great, and it does, I think, wonders for the confidence of this lineup moving forward domestically as well. Because I think there were so many doubts about, almost in a way, the legitimacy of KC even making it to first stand, but by some critics' like eyes, right? Halfway through, KC like dropping the first 2 series. Looking admittedly like dog shit, right? Yike had a really, really poor opening to the tournament. So to see the bounce back, to see, a much more consistent performance, especially out of Yike, who's technically the veteran on this roster, right? Was fantastic. And I think it does wonders moving forward. And hopefully we see them at MSI. I think KC to me has earned a lot of respect in my mind as a team that can, at the very least, do Europe proud. I'm not going to say like make deep runs yet. I think this is probably a lineup where hopefully they stay together like long term into next year as well. But if this is the starting point, I think it's okay. Like it's a passable grade to me.
Now, what do you make it the series?
I mean, I think it was a fun series to watch. I think for KC, I wonder how they're going to do in terms of like growing into a team that can play different style of team comps, because right now they have like one really big strength, which is they are really good at like controlling space. Like when it comes to Drakes, they're very disciplined. They understand how to set up vision, and they're good when the enemy team is like playing into them. But they're really bad at making plays onto the enemy team generally. Like they're not good at playing the aggressive comps, like, which is why when they played against HLE after game 1, when they played like the Talia game and the enemy can come into them, etc., they had like Talia, Maokai, whatever. after that game, they weren't able to play because, you know, these champions just weren't available anymore, and they weren't able to actually kite back effectively. So when they tried to play the aggressive comp of like Pantheon, Galio, this type of stuff, they didn't find any plays the entire game, right? Like they have like Draven, Galio, like they're supposed to be trying to do things in this game, and they just don't really know how to set up those plays, right? It's supposed to be Pantheon like ulting bot with Galio ulting on top, and it's like you suddenly 4-man, Draven gets a kill, and then he like snowballs the game from there, but they just don't they couldn't find the angles. And that was with them having like 3 winning lanes essentially, because they also had they also were playing into the Camille top. So I feel like the issue with KC is just the fact that they're one-dimensional, but it is good that they actually can play, you know, one style well. You know, I respect it. And I think they exceeded everyone's expectations. That being said, I mean, I don't like the comparisons to like other European teams that have done well. I don't like the comparisons to like, you know, when people are like, oh, this is the first international final that they've made since like 2019 and stuff like that. And it's like,
it's not the same.
It's so much harder to make world finals with G2 than it is to make finals in this type of format. You know, like this type of format hasn't existed in a long time, right? In a long time, since like 2022, you haven't even had the opportunity to just win one best of 5 and you're in. And then also, if you look at them, it's like they did go 8-11 at first stand in terms of like games. Like they didn't lose more games than they won. Like they went 1-3 in the group stage. You know, like they went 1-3. They ended up holding the tiebreaker because they won that one game against DL. And then you know, they had the 3-2 victory versus CFO, but those were the only series they won the entire time. So I don't want to get like too hyped on them, because I think when they come back to Europe, like it is going to be hard for them. It's not going to be just a cakewalk for them to go to another international. Like I think, you know, Fnatic could have beat them in a best of 5, right? Like they could have won that series. So Fnatic's going to be there. G2's going to be there. G2 did actually beat them in a best of 5. They just have to be able to, I mean, what I said on stream is they need to be able to keep their strength of being able to play these comps where they understand how to like zone control and stuff like this. And they need to like add some other stuff to it. They have to be able to play comps where you play on side lane, or play comps where you need to like make plays and you need to flank and stuff like that. And if they can add like one extra dimension to their gameplay and then keep the things that they're good at, they'll be good. Because right now it does feel like they can like only play against good teams. They can only really play tank junglers and control mages for the most part. It's like control mages and Yone.
And there's one part of their gameplay that I think we praised a lot domestically, and it was definitely a lot worse at first stand, was just their general discipline as a team. I think that was, you know, 50-50 this tournament. But I think one thing that really bugs me with this KC lineup is the individual discipline on like waves when it's kind of and I quote, like it's dead time, right? Where there's not really a play on the map to make. It's more like you're playing for maybe a side lane, you're playing for camps, and specifically like Kalist, everyone was kind of riding Kalist a little bit earlier on this year. They were like, yo, this guy plays like right up in the face of the enemy team all the time. He loves to toe the line. He's great. It cost KC a fair few game states this tournament.
Anytime they picked Draven.
Specifically anytime they picked Draven. You know, the one that sticks out in my mind, it was the HLE series. It was the final game, right? Where he just like he walks up, he's trying to auto Viper for no reason, and Peanut just like flash Wukong engages on him. And it's like it's sequence losing, because it's then you give HLE all this freedom to then just do whatever the fuck they want, because the ADC is dead on the map for like 25-30 seconds. So that's one thing that I hope, you know, the coaching staff, you know, they pull out the belt a little bit for things like this, and they're like, yo, get it together. Because I think generally, you know, get them in front of objectives, anything like that, side lane plays still need a little bit of work with like actual proactive aggressive play, but like 5-on-5, they're fine. Like their setups are generally like pretty okay. But when it's like nothing's going on the map, they need to just sit there and farm. It does feel like it's a bit too habitual for me that Kalist has now been picked up too many times, and I think it's starting to it cost KC a good couple of times at first stand. So that's like one of the small things I want to see worked out for them moving on.
That I mean, you brought up a lot of it, but which player does this help the most? Do you think this performance, making it to the finals, bouncing back after a very disappointing 0-2? Which player do you think this helps the most? I'll just go first and throw it out there. I think it's Targamas. I don't know why I said it like that, Targamas. It's just because I think he had such a rough patch, and I have a picture of him in the press conference.
Oh yeah,
After their second loss,
the
I
1,000 yards there.
yeah, the 1,000 yard stare, and for him to be able to bounce back and have like a solid second half there feels good. It feels good for him, feels good for the team, and regardless of how that like final series went, he's like, okay, I have a multiple performances against top teams where I can rest my hat on, and I feel like that was big for him.
I think it'll be easy to say the two rookies. I'm gonna weirdly say Yike. I know the like format, bit Mickey Mouse, yada yada yada. Bro, Yike internationally has had a lot of like rough performances. He's been far more inconsistent out of Europe than in, right? And the tournament started like that, but beyond those first two series, Yike was mostly really bloody good. So at least to me, I feel like, especially as Yike seems to be fulfilling the pseudo captain role, the like pseudo team leader role on this lineup, I think this probably does the most for him, even ahead of someone like Targamas, who I think had a lot of pressure on him. I think it's equal. I think it's around equal, but I would take up Yike on that point ahead of Targa for me. Just on the basis of a lot of the narrative that seemed to be following Yike around coming into first stand, and then even again those opening series.
I guess I like now. Maybe I'm changing the rules here, but I think in my head, I think winning LEC after getting dropped by G2 was the thing
that
for
Yike. Thing, sure, yeah.
Like international choking, whatever. I mean, his career is still pretty young, in my opinion, to be like international choker and having multiple different opportunities to be that. But I guess when I think of international choking and having a lot of opportunities while being young, I think Cream, and that's he's pinned on there, and he's also of like almost the same age and kind of time frame of being in the eye of fans. Dom, who do you think this helps the most?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think like I feel like I don't know. I feel like maybe like it'll help them all to like similar degrees, I would say. Maybe the experiences would help Vladi the most, because I feel like it might, because he was like, Zika was playing a lot of like the really aggressive shit in lane, and I feel like that is what Vladi probably like has the capability to do, but he doesn't do in Europe. And I think that might be something where he transforms into being like more comfortable picking these types of champions and understanding like why these champions are so good, like having the feeling of playing against somebody who's as good on Silas as Zika. I think that could benefit him a lot, because it feels like Vladi has insane trajectory and he has like a huge capacity towards improvement.
I actually also just want to tack onto that. I big time agree, because I've been following Vladi since he was in the ERLs. I cast one of his, I think maybe it was a second split in tier 1 of ERLs, and the things that he was known for was stuff like the Akali, was stuff like it was all of the mechanical like outplay champions. And it feels like as he's gotten higher and higher throughout the tiers, and obviously now he's made it to LEC, his role in that sense in the mid lane is kind of relaxed away from that, and he's kind of diversified his pool a little bit. And the meta's changed. The meta's changed away from where it was as well when that was the thing. But he was pretty decent. Levels to it, of course, right? You're talking about playing against ERL players to playing against Zeka. But I think, yes, I'm confident in getting back to playing those champions at his new level would also just kind of benefit him a whole bunch.
Right, yeah, I mean, I think that the thing about the champions that Vladi plays is that is kind of how you win Europe. Like, people have always talked about, like, for example, when I do the sack with like all the European like former LEC pros or current LEC pros, whatever, they'll always talk about like LEC champs, and it's like whenever playoffs hits, like people will say fuck all like the really aggressive lane dominant shit, and people play like tanks top, they play mages mid, they play utility champions in the jungle. The supports go from being like all these really niche picks to like Braum and Rakan and all these champions that are going to be useful on a base level. And I feel like that is something that Vladi was able to do in this playoffs. He was able to play all the control mages really well. But if Casey's able to unlock the like, oh, well, if they're playing scaling, all we need to do is play a comp like this, like some type of like Silas and Jown, they can understand why that is so good instead of just trying to like avoid fights all the time and just let your comp carry you later on. I think that would be the thing that would make them the best team going forward.
Yeah. I was watching ESPN soccer coverage, and
Football.
the head coach of football. The reason why I said it that way is because the head coach of the U.S. national team is Pochettino, Mauricio Pochettino, Argentinian, who's made his whole career playing.
Oh,
yeah, he's a coach.
Oh.
He did the thing where he said in 10 years, 10 to 15 years, the USA is producing world-class talent, blah, blah, blah. And it just making statements like that is so bad. And it, like, cool, we have Pulisic, we have I don't know, Tim Weah. We've got really solid players, McKinney, but here's a bona fide stud in like Vladdy who's come up, and it makes me think of like Danny. From NA, another guy that came up, stud. Even like Jojo, you can even throw Jojo Pune into that, stud. I really hope that it's not even we don't have anything to do with it, but like the West can cultivate this talent, can cultivate the players that pop up from it, and then figure out the systems that lead to those types of players like jumping on up. So, I don't know where I was going with that. It just, as we were talking about Vladdy, I just had flashbacks of watching Danny in Tier 3, whatever it was called back then. Was it Challengers? I think it was Academy and Challengers.
It was something like that. I remember the team when he was Shiro. That was his name at the time.
Yeah,
it was Shiro.
When he was Shiro, and it was specifically on Samira, and he 1v4'd a bot lane fight where it was like, it was the craziest shit. It was like the craziest shit, and he was the next coming. And he was, while, he was good, and then, the same system that ruins players ruined him. And I hope that Vladdy, Kalist, the young guys
Greece,
are supported.
He's going to be all right.
That was... Those Greek boys don't play, bro. They don't play.
Those Greek motherfuckers, they don't fuck around, all right? Mm-hmm. Like, he's gonna be okay.
We've had one big Greek name in the league before. And he, for a long time, we still talk about him. He's not been playing forever. So Vladdy's probably not quite from the same cloth, but he's from the same cloth.
That's a lot of talk about KC and what it means for them. Hanwha Life, we'll just do Hanwha Life real quick. They do what they're supposed to do. They get it done. This super team roster is achieving exactly that, even where there are games where maybe one player struggling a little bit. I think there was a game where like Viper didn't really get to play too much because he was just getting iced every time. I think on Ashe, he still had impact, or like Peanut picks it up. Other games where Peanut falls behind. Zeus is a stud. Zek is a stud. When we started the season, we were talking about Gen G, T1, and BLG as like true contenders for Worlds. Do you feel like this performance, or what we got to see from Hanwha Life,
I had Hanwha Life before fucking T1. Like, what the fuck? Like,
you did. I remember you did.
I don't have T1. Like, I was so happy when Zeus left that team. I'm like, wait, now I can actually cheer for Zeus as well. Like, that's a huge thing for me. It's like, I can actually like Zeus as opposed to like just his success being like, oh, now I'm just gonna get like mentally ill shit tweeted at me. Like, I can appreciate Zeus's success. I think in general, it's so nice to have a team like Hanwha Life be the best team in the world, because it's like I don't see the mentalness from their fans. Like Casey's fan base, at least internationally, seems way more mentally ill than the Hanwha Life fan base. Most people that like Hanwha Life just like the players. They're like, oh, these players are fucking sick. Like, Viper's a sick player. Oh, Zeus is a fucking sick player. And I like a team like that running the fucking league, because it just feels like people care more about the sport than this like parasocial thing that we've like gone into the last couple of years. So I am down for Hanwha Life to be the overlords for a bit.
Jamada?
They came, they saw, they conquered, man. What else is there to say? They kind of just had fun, I think, was the almost scary part about this tournament. Yes, some of the, like, I think it is important to say that, Top Esports had a very shit tournament, right? They looked fucking horrendous. So when you take that...
Fuck that shitty ass team. Fuck them. I hate that team.
Look, man, I wasn't happy about them going through the gauntlet either. All right, I wasn't happy about them beating AL either, right, or BLG, but they did it, unfortunately. So I think it even makes the exaggeration of how good HLE are even higher, because there just wasn't a team to reasonably contest them at first stand. But now it's about going back to Korea. Well, they don't have to go anywhere. It was in Hull Park, staying in Korea, waiting for LCK to start.
It's okay.
Then,
they're gonna look. All I'm saying is that the team that has had home field advantage has won every single international this year, and the next international is MSI in Canada. So just saying that right there, so everyone is on the same page here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see it. Yeah. FlyQuest 2025 MSI champions. I hear it.
FlyQuest. Who the fuck? What? Who the fuck are those guys? FlyQuest.
But yeah, it's just about going back and doing a similar job in the LCK, right? But it's about D+, how they bounce back. T1 and the Guma Smash debacle, that's going to be following them. And then, of course, the big ones are Gen G, right? And seeing how all of these teams really are kind of come back to no more lane swaps for pretty much it's 9. We didn't see a single lane swap this tournament, right? So lane swaps are dead. How is everyone going to lane? There's case study games for HLE, and they looked pretty fucking good. So yeah, there's not much else to say. They came, they did everything by expectations. They even won the finals 4-0. Can you believe that 4-0 finals win?
Now people are taking the game one emote. They're like, oh my god, like KC's gonna do it. I'm like, the problem with KC, I said after game one, they played like 4 champs in 2 roles.
Yeah.
You play 4 champs in 2 roles, and a couple of them are gone in the first game. It's just like cooked, right? Like you're just never gonna be able to win a series. So you're just gonna run out of juice at some point. It is what it is. So that is unfortunately what ended up happening.
CFO, great story. Hope to see them again. I feel like it gives reason to check into a little bit more highlights for their team along with PSG and maybe every now and then GAM. It's just putting all those teams together. Like not having GAM just kind of show up to just accidentally bop a team is weird now, but I guess that's what it is. So just final thoughts on their run. I guess their time in the limelight here, Dom.
I would say that the most notable thing for me about CFO is that we've always heard that Junjia is cracked. Like I remember watching him in LPL when he played with EDG, and he always was somebody who would show up to these international tournaments. He would be one of the best performing players in solo queue. He'd be completely shitting on everyone. And you always felt like he would play a little bit weird on stage. When he would play in the official matches, he just didn't look that good. I mean, he was over aggressive, or he would make big ins, whatever. And I feel like this is the first tournament that we've seen Junjia internationally since he's went back to I guess LCP is what it's called now. But when he was with what was it? Was it L? What was it? It was the PCS when he was ever
PCS.
Since he joined the PCS. Yeah, ever since he was in the PCS, we haven't seen him actually live up to the expectations that he set for himself by being super high rated Korean solo queue. Just being somebody who is generally dominant, and then dominating PCS. People would say he was the best player in that region. People like Molecule would be like, oh yeah, this guy's the GOAT, right? So this was the first tournament where I was like, okay, I can see why Junjia is really dominating this region. This guy, I think, was for most of the tournament before Peanut started showing up towards the end, and obviously HLE was winning. For most of the tournament, I would say that he was the best player, the best jungler at the tournament. He was really, really fucking good.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement, and we'll cover that in our all pros here. I guess our all tournament team. I think just another one that kind of had that redemption arc is Doggo. I think Doggo had moments where he was, especially in the group stages, where he was styling. He was styling
Solid
on the players.
Solid
right?
glides. Tristana game is the one that sticks out in my head.
Jamada, how do you feel about Doggo? Because we've both watched a lot of LPL, and it's hard for me to respect Doggo, even though he did play well at this tournament. I just I know he's bad. That's how I feel about
Doggo.
him.
Doggo in Dom's mind is what Fisher hopes to be one day.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man. he's still staying lock screened, right? Like that's the whole thing for Doggo.
Like I don't know, it's crazy to watch this guy. But I mean, he did so much crazy in LPL. He played fucking Rammus AD carry one game for no reason. It was like, what the fuck is the point of this? They were literally down like 100 CS at like, this is before lane swaps or anything. They were down like 100 CS, like dry in lane. It's like, why did you pick this? Like, this shit is fucking horrible. I don't know. Like, it's just so hard for me to like respect Doggo. Like, to me, that was kind of the bar where I'm like, I don't actually believe that Doggo was a bottom tier LPL AD carry for years, and then he went back to PCS, and suddenly like he's grown that much, and in 6 months he's become one of the best ADs in the world. Like, so for me, that was kind of something I was using to like judge, like, oh, these teams are fucking choking. Like, this is like, oh, Jackie Love is fucking out of his mind right now. That's how I felt.
Yeah, Doggo's still probably around the same. He's just on a functioning team relative to the competition. Right. That he's kind of passaging it, but he's stepping up when he needs to. I think that's probably the most appropriate way to put it, seemingly. And in my head, I just try and think that Doggo is the same young Doggo, who everyone got excited about. The one international where he showed up, looked really good in the sub position. That's the Doggo in my head. Whenever I see him now, I don't care how many years it's been. That's how I stay sane watching Doggo play some games.
Yeah.
Fair.
All right. Well, we already covered Team Liquid in the last one. We don't have to get in there again. Cool. So that was First Stand, a fun tournament. I had fun watching it. Provided some great moments and a springboard for these 5 teams going into Split 2 or their spring split.
Kappa.
Whatever they're calling it.
It was really fun to watch. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I like the 5-day group stage to eliminate one team. I thought it was amazing. Where 3 teams were 1-3 at the end.
You know what? Forget the format. What I'm most worried about is the overlay coming from international.
Oh my god! Wait, is it actually going to be like an LPL?
I don't know. I don't know, Dom. I don't know. But look, you do the co-streaming for all the regions. I'm gonna feel bad. You're gonna have to watch that shit live if they ain't fixed it. Get the dragon timers and the counters ready.
Oh my!
From what I understand, the insider scoop, each region has their own version. You're not going to be using the same one, and I think
version of this, or like, what does that mean? Version. That's a very version of way to say it.
Of the HUD that we saw
of the overlay. Yeah. So like they can do whatever they want. But they can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. So if it's like, we don't like these stats here, we don't like how much wide the bug in the corner, like they can do whatever they want. But the overlay, it's all contracted out. Like it's all contracted out. So it's like, okay, cool. Like you want this, pick and choose like what you like. So I think they made a decision on what they were going for, what they're trying. On global, they got a shit ton of feedback and learning lessons, and they implemented a little bit of it, and they'll make it better later. So all right.
I mean, that's the thing about Riot is like, surely they wouldn't just have like a horrible decision linger for years and just have it be fucked up for like a long period of time. Like, surely they'll just make it better.
Time to pay the bills, y'all. It's time to remind you about our friends over at ExpressVPN. How do you choose your internet service provider to use? The sad thing is, most of us have little choice because ISPs operate like monopolies in the region that they serve. They then use this monopoly power to take advantage of customers. It's literally me. Remember, I was having internet issues earlier, and I could not get around it. Data caps, bandwidth throttling, and the list goes on. But worst of all, ISPs have the ability to keep a log of every website you visit, and so can a ton of other third parties, unless you use our friends over at ExpressVPN. You've heard us talk about them before. They hide your IP address, making it extremely difficult for third parties to track your online activity. It's super easy to use. You fire up the app and click one button to get protected in multiple, and you could choose servers from all around the world. And it works on all devices, phones, laptop, tablets, and more, so you can stay private on the go. Literally, it is one of the most used apps on my phone. Like I just pop in, boom, I can log into Twitch. I can log into a lot of stuff back in the States that I can't reach here in Korea, get a different whole library of videos for when I go to my streaming services. ExpressVPN makes it so easy. It's one touch and you're in. So protect your privacy online today by visiting expressvpn.com/powerspike. That's expressvpn.com/powerspike for those of you that can't spell. So you can get an extra 4 months free. expressvpn.com/powerspike. Thanks to our friends over at ExpressVPN for powering PowerSpike. I think that was my best ad read ever. And now to transition to the next one. First stand tournament all pro. So we're going 1, 2, 3. Dom, you kind of alluded to it here. I think Jungle's up for grabs, and then I'm interested in who we end up, sticking in there for teams 2 and 3. So is anyone ready to go first? Dom, you ready to go?
Sure. Am I doing all first team, all second team, and then all third team?
Yeah. If you need time for third team, maybe we could do 1, 2.
Do I need to put
no?
Is there any rules where it's like I have to,
No rules. No rules. This is all by the end. It's done and dusted. Who stood out?
I mean, it just sounds so boring to say all 5 Hanwha Life members as first team. Like that's the thing. Like that's why I wanted to kind of go like 1 from each team or something.
I think 1 from each
if that's what it is, that's what it is. Like that in this case, I think 1 from each team, and we already did the DEI picks for our pre-tournament top 10.
Actually, hold on. Before we do this, can I go back to my Nostradamus picks for a second? Because I said
make a Nostradamus news that we're a noise.
Yeah, I said I don't know what it is. I'm too young. I said 369 Zeus, same kind of level. I got clowned for that take. How? He was the only one on Top Esports that actually didn't just get his shit blown out for the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
The only guy.
He needed ExpressVPN while he was getting his shit blown out.
I think he did. Yeah. So 369 is going to be high up on my list. I don't know. I'm giving Dom more time to think also. Because I got to say, whilst Top Esports generally choked, 369 held his own. I can't remember if I put 369 above Zeus or not. I think I did, and that was the controversial part, wasn't it? I played a bit LPL favor. I'd have to go double check, but I definitely had them 2-3. Held his fucking own.
I guess we're stalling for time. Does Jan make it in? Is Jan sliding into third? Is that too much of a reach? The only bad game I remember him having was when they drafted him Ziggs. That's the only one that I remember.
The Ziggs Corky game. That was a strange draft. That was a very old draft.
All right.
Go ahead, Dom.
I don't know. I'll do it my own way. I'll just give it to the players that I think impressed me the most throughout the tournament. Okay. So I'll go all HLE first team, but for jungle I'm gonna have Junjia because I do think he had a really good tournament.
Very real.
So I'll go that. Then after that, second team will go top lane Kana. Because he saved that one. Actually, I do 369 or Kana. How do they play when they played into each other? Actually, I don't even remember those games. I actually have no clue. I don't remember what those games were. That's how you know the tournament is dog shit. Like I have no clue what even matchups did they play.
If memory serves me right, it was pretty
tank versus carry.
It was a lot of tank versus carry though, and it felt like whoever was on the carry won.
Okay, what did they play though? What were the champions? Remind me.
I'm pulling it up.
Okay, yeah, without pulling it up, try to remember.
There was a Jace into a tank lane. I can't recall who was on the Jace. I think it was 369.
Okay.
One of them ended up. Did one of them end up on Ornn duty? I think 369 and Ornn. 369 and Ornn are just so synonymous in my head that it's easy to think about.
It was Ambessa versus Jace and Nard versus Aatrox.
Ah.
So there was no tanks, there was no there was none of that the entire time. And yeah, I remember the Aatrox game was the one where like Gnar was like pretty ahead, and then they ended up just losing anyway, where like they had that weird Otacon where Cream just like died for free, and then everything was just dog shit afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go Kana. Second pick would have to be Peanut. Third pick mid laner. I guess it would have to be. Well, actually, no. I'm gonna go Hongq there. Honestly, I think Hongq played
Really?
overall a better tournament than Vladi. I do actually believe that. Like if you consider the early games, like I don't think that Hongq had any games as bad as Vladi's like first 4 games. When they showed up, or like first 5 games, like when he was playing like Aurora and stuff like that, or when he played like the Ari games and he wasn't able to play. So I'll go Hongq, second team mid. 80 carry, I'll go Kalist, and then support, I'm gonna go Kaiwing. And then third team, oh my god. Okay, third team, I'll go 369 because I went Kana.
Yep.
Second, okay, jungler, I guess I'll go Yike. I mean, it's like Yike, Umpty, or Kanavi, and those guys play terrible, so I guess it's just Yike by default.
Yep.
Then I'll go Vladi, third team. Then fourth team, I guess, or third team. Then for 80 carry, I'll go Doggo, and then for the support, I guess I'll go Targamas.
Good list. And you know what's annoying me is that is basically almost a carbon copy of mine. So I'm trying to think of a way to...
I'm writing mine out now, and it's different.
What's your first team? If you've written out the first one, or do you want me to give you time? Because
no, it's the same as Dom's. I had Junjia above Peanut, but everyone else is Tanwa. And then Kana, Peanut, Vladi. I had Vladi over Hongq. Dago Kaiwing. And then I went 369 Yike Hongq. 369 Yike Hongq, Yan Targa.
Yeah,
I don't think, like, when the ball needed to be in Kalist's court, like those Draven games just stick out in my head where it was like, what the fuck? What the fuck was that?
His team doesn't know how to play. Like, I mean, his team doesn't know how to play around Draven, so he's just like getting frustrated that nothing's happening, and then he just like ends. It's obviously his fault, but it's like.
I even remember when they locked it in, it's like, obviously it's high stress, like a lot of tension probably just existing in that atmosphere, but he didn't even look happy locking in the Draven in that final game, I remember. I mean, my list is pretty much identical. The only thing is I'm pity putting 369 in the second team because the rest of his team
over
played
Kana?
like shit. Over Kana, completely pity. This is nothing to do performance.
I mean, honestly, I think 369 had a pretty decent tournament.
He did. And this is not like I don't think Kana played well. I just feel like if you put Kana in 369's position that tournament, the exact same thing happens. I think if you put 369 in Kana's position, 369 probably squeezes more out of what Kana was able to achieve.
I mean, 369 was able to play carries into Zeus and not get shit on, which is something that like didn't happen all the other times where he played into Zeus. Like normally when he would play into Zeus, he would just get rolled, but he was playing like, Jason to Rumble, and he was doing well in the lane. He was doing he was meeting the conditions that you would want to meet in the lane. And I mean, if your team is just completely gapped everywhere, it's kind of hard to play. I mean, to be honest, for like Zeus's standards, he didn't really have to do anything to like win these last, I don't know, like 5 or 6 games that he played. To be honest, like his games, like, I mean, it was like Zika and fucking Peanut are just walking around with like 15 kills apiece, just like killing everyone. And it's like, all right, I was playing some top lane during it. Cool. I guess we win. So yeah, it was, I don't know. It just, Hunter Life was so gapped that it's like, you don't need to do anything to win.
Yeah. It does remind me for Kana, and a point for Kana reminds me of what you were talking about earlier, Jamada, when we were talking about Yike kind of being the de facto captain or holding that role. It felt like because this tournament was in Korea, it was in Lol Park, it was him talking all the time. It was him leading the interviews and kind of leading the guys around in a unique way, I'd say. Maybe in the future, maybe at MSI, if KC make it, we'll get to see more Yike being that out front guy, but from my vibe on the ground, it felt like it was kind of leading the way, which is why I give a little bit more credit for him And I also just saying like a pity vote. Like a pity vote is putting Jan in over Kalist. Like that's a pity vote for like third team, not 369 over Kana, who had a solid tournament and saved them multiple times, had that game winning flank. Like I just those kind of moments I think stick out in my head. Yeah. Those are our teams, right? Yeah. Those are our teams. Let us know in the comments in this episode what you think about first, second, and third team all pros there. I think Dom had the most solid. I think I have the riskiest one with Jan being there because I think the argument for 369 and kind of swapping makes sense a little bit, but I can imagine the Kalist fans will not be happy about that one. All right, that's all that we have for this episode. It was a pretty light one because we did just cover five
3 games.
Yeah, three series here. Is there any other news that came out from the week? It looks like LeBlanc and the Black Rose might be where we're going for the next season. It was like LeBlanc is saying like, "Oh, I'm the one that's been lying to Noxus about their history, and now I'm about to screw them all over. Now the Rift's gonna look purple, I guess."
I thought it was supposed to be a Demacian season next. Did I just not understand what was going on?
We brought this up when we were talking about Fearless last week, right?
Yeah.
I guess maybe the whole year is supposed to be Noxus.
Really?
No.
Well, then what's the stuff about then?
Maybe they're just not done releasing. Maybe they're not done releasing the Noxus stuff.
I mean, the thing is, it's like, okay, so they said that they were going to split the year into 3 different seasons. Maybe I got this wrong. I'll go back and I'll check. But the way I understood it was they're splitting the year into 3 different seasons. And the first one was going to be Noxus, and then it was going to change, and then it was going to be like Demacia or something. And they didn't announce what it all was going to be, but there was going to be 3 seasons that were going to change the game within the one calendar season of League of Legends. But like, we're going into the second split. Games are starting in 3 days, and we're not even on the second season. So when are they going to actually do that? Are they going to have a massive patch before MSI? And then like, are we going to get like, when is a third season going to come out? If that's the case, I don't know. It just seems very weird. It seems like we're in a situation where like we're not going to get to it, or we're going to be rushed, or the patches are going to come out at such a weird time where it's going to feel really fucking bad to be a fan of LoL esports. Because I mean, even this tournament, that was the thing that we complained about last week. Like, why did we change formats?
Lane swaps.
Or like, why did we change like the whole format of the way the game is played right before we went to an international tournament? Why did we test teams for 2 months on lane swapping, where people were lane swapping almost every game, and then be like, yeah, we want you to play standard lanes at this tournament? Like, where the fuck did that come from? Like, I don't know. It just seems so strange to me.
Fan sentiment, my dear boy. Fan sentiment. That's where it came from.
I mean, I'm down to change lane swaps, but I don't think the fans would have been like super upset. Yeah, exactly. I don't think the fans would have been like, oh, what the fuck? Like, you didn't change it right before first stand, you piece of shit, right? Fuck you and fuck LoL esports. Like, they would have
definitely not done that. Yeah.
Maybe they would, but like, who cares about them anyway? Like, like, it is what it is. Like, who cares about the fans? Like, why can't T1 just do what I do with my own fans and say, fuck you, I don't care, I'm going to do what I want. And if that means that I make a little bit less money, it's okay. T1 has more money than fucking God. They can like sacrifice, 10% revenue or something to have like a fucking functioning team and actually make the play for the long run. That is the irony in the whole situation, is that if this team ends up being shit and T1 doesn't end up going to Worlds, and they have like players that are just worse playing, that will be the thing that will kill T1 eventually, is when, at the end of the year, people don't want to resign, and then they go elsewhere. Then you just aren't a team that was like dominant anymore, and known as a team that is like the best team in the world. So that is actually what is going to kill profits in the long run. So I do think it is extremely short-sighted to bring it all back to what we talked about at first, to decide to appease the fans and sacrifice what your coaches think is in the best interest for winning games of League of Legends.
Yeah. I feel like it's gonna. Yeah. I feel like it's going to change here soon. And hopefully it is before LPL starts, but hopefully it's before LPL starts. We don't know, but hopefully it's, yeah.
It's going to be off, though. We will know it.
It's
you know what? Yeah, it's impossible. And fuck it, I'm just gonna make the prediction now. They are gonna fuck up and they're gonna do it twice. They are gonna change the game fundamentally again through some big thematic change, either between playoffs, which is I think it's more acceptable. Do you think it's worse? Do you think
I think it's worse because it's like because at least for the international tournament, there's some time to prepare. Whereas for playoffs, it's like the day, it's like the week after. Where like at least these teams got to scrim for like a couple weeks or like 10 days or whatever on the new patch. With the exception of I guess like LEC.
You've changed my mind. Yeah, no, you're right. It is worse. So they're gonna do it. So exactly. So they're gonna do it then, or it's gonna, I suppose, be the better option of before MSI, and then after doing it on the trot back to back, they'll learn their lesson and try. Well, I think there's usually a Kappa. There's usually a big enough gap between summer and worlds that it's okay, but it's still a bit of a piss take. So we'll see if they learn. But if the pacing is anything to go by, I'm not hopeful.
I'm checking now. So the most recent patch went into effect yesterday.
Yep.
Right.
Today.
So
today, pretty much. Yeah.
Today. Yeah. So that means the next one won't come until 2 weeks from now.
Yep.
And that is for the LCK. That's the first day of LCK. So maybe I'm hopeful. But maybe it is just like, all right, week 3 of your split 2, boom, here's the new one. Good luck. And maybe it is just a skin cover, it changes the map and some buffs here or there. Maybe it's not an Otacon game breaking thing, but
I think it will be a skin cover thing because they've already done if you've been playing any league. Actually, was it on the first stand patch? I guess technically it was. There's like the roses spawning inside like the inhib and the turrets
on the tower. Yeah.
Stuff's already started happening, so they're teasing it. I just don't know why it's not here yet, or why it was dropped on this patch.
I really, really thought they were gonna drop whatever was next at the end of first stand. Like it all kind of linked up well, and then they dropped the LeBlanc thing, but that didn't really tell us anything. It was just a teaser, I guess. So, all right. Well, anyways, let us know what you think it'll be here in the comments below. That does it for this episode. We will kick things back on up very shortly. LPL starts in 2 days. Dom, are you back to the grind?
Yeah, always.
No rest.
All right.
No fucking rest, bro. We're going straight into it, and we're putting together the Ready Sack team, and we got scrims for upcoming LTA.
Quick sack tap.
Yeah. Did you fire Yankos?
No.
Did you have the conversation with him?
No.
Did you pull a Joe Marsh?
No. What happened was we were trying to figure out like how to get like Humz's visa
of course,
sorted, which was like almost impossible, to be honest. We would have had to like set up a company and then pay him like $40K a year in order to just like get him his visa. So it was like almost impossible. And then when this was going around, like Yankos was like, yeah, I'm probably down to stay, and then he just left. So that is what happened.
Oh no.
Yeah, he pulled the fast one on us. I respect it, bro. I respect the hustle from Yankos.
The worst part for me is the Judas move. Going over to Nord. The obviously it's alleged, it's reported, it's not officially announced.
He's going to Nord.
Okay, well Dom said it, he's going to Nord out. I heard it from him.
He's going to Nord allegedly. Out of game.
Nord.
No, he is going to Nord, period.
In real life.
That is that is the biggest Judas move of all. So now,
I mean, it's a Judas move, but at the same time, it's like I mean, he's not like one of my like. I mean, he's not one of my like homies or anything. It's like not somebody who I consider like one of my like close friends or anything like that. So it's not like he actually screwed us over. It's like he just saw a better opportunity like business wise, and he took it. And we'll see if it ends up being something that pays off. I honestly am way happier with the lineup that we are going to be getting, like the approach that we're going to have, because I think the main thing was last split. I mean, we talked about it on the show, like having people that don't want to be part of the project in the project kind of just like screws you over, right? So like having people that are actually excited and know what is going on and like want to play well, and then also just like when people see our lineup, we'll probably have like lower expectations, because I mean we literally had like world finalists and like MSI champs on our last roster, right? So people will have like more realistic expectations, and I think it'll be more fun to watch the team grow as opposed to like have a team that's not practicing, show up and like disappoint every week,
Just do the Hanwha T1 and pick up Santorin like that. Santorin's.
I mean, no, I
Santorin's
mean,
always been
think
solid.
about. I mean, Santorin was going to like. I mean, it wasn't like he got kicked. Like Santorin was somebody who was good on Nord, maybe even their best player. But the thing is, he just wanted to do something else. Like a lot of people wanted to test this out and see if it like helped their streams. Like at the end of the day, these are like content creators and they're trying to do like stream teams. And the reality of the situation was that it was actually hurting a lot of their streams because people just get bored of like the whole idea of scrimming. Like there's way more downtime. It's like 5v5 play can be less interesting to watch if a team is just stomping. People like climbing, in solo queue and stuff like that. So we'll see how people end up feeling about it in the future. But I think it was something where Santorin just wanted to focus on like growing his stream. Like it was actually hurting his stream as opposed to helping it, which like was the opposite of what he joined the team for in the first place.
Yeah. All right. There you have it. That's our episode of Power Spike. Thank you all so much for watching. Go support Dom and his streams. Go support Jamada. Jamada, what are you doing?
Dude, so I have the pleasure of hosting my girlfriend from America for the next 2 weeks. So I'm actually just MIA. I will be here to do Power Spike. I'll be watching League of Legends. But otherwise, I'm not doing anything on socials. I'm completely tapped out for the next 2 weeks, just enjoying my time. And then I think
what about
maybe
LPL?
Well, I'll be watching the LPL. Yeah.
What about LPL English or?
Well, shout out those guys. I'm not gonna be doing the days for a little while. I'm relaxed for the time being. Yeah. No, and I usually just help them out in outside of broadcast ways and very, very limited scopes. It's mostly just I do the unfun stuff to talk about on screen. It's like I'm doing VOD reviews with talent and stuff like that, and then trying to just bounce ideas off them and stuff. So. Yeah, check them out. They're awesome. There you go. That's what, they can take my place for this week. Watch the LPL official, unofficial English broadcast because they're trying to keep the league English coverage alive for the LPL, and they're a great bunch.
Yeah. And then I'll be doing a couple of Asia Master Co streams because fucking Brion is not done qualifying yet. They won their first 3 matches. You got to make 4 to make it out of Swiss, and they dropped against T1, they dropped against Nongshim, and now they're playing anyone's Legends Youth. And then if they lose that, they only have one more chance. They've made it to the final hurdle, and they've stumbled twice. So that'll be what I'm doing for the next couple of days. So until then, thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you to the next episode of Power Spike.